The most rebellious thing you can do in 2025 is choose not to have children. Not because you hate kids, not because you're broken, not because you're selfish, but because you've done the math, and the math is brutal. Here's a number: $1 million. That is the estimated total cost of raising one child from birth to age 22 in America today. And the same system demanding you reproduce pays the median worker $48,000 a year.
No, you can't have
So
my
before
baby.
anyone calls the child-free generation selfish, lazy, or a threat to
deal is
civilization,
You ruined everything.
maybe
Again,
ask
no.
How
yourself,
could you? You promised. This was
broke
our
this
future.
deal
It's all lies.
first?
For the entirety of human history, having children was an economic strategy, not a lifestyle choice, not a moral statement, a survival calculation. When 75% of Americans worked the land, children were your labor force, your retirement plan, your insurance policy. More kids literally meant more wealth, more security, more power. The family wasn't built on love alone. It was built
This economic
on
logic is
economic
ingenious, but these
logic.
gears won't turn.
The coins
And
are the
here's
key,
what
but they
no
must
one
align
wants to
perfectly.
admit out
And if one
loud.
coin shifts, the whole house
That logic
collapses.
It's a precarious
no
balance
longer
of parts.
exists. When industrialization hit, children stopped being economic assets, almost overnight. They couldn't work the factory floor. They required years of schooling. They needed supervision. Suddenly, every child born was not a contributor to the household. They were a liability. And the birth rate? It started falling right then. Not the 1990s, not with smartphones. The 1800s. 200 years ago. So when a think piece in 2025 frames the child-free movement as some radical new cultural rot, understand that you are watching a 200-year-old economic trend finally reach its logical conclusion.
There it is, the heart of the beast.
The child-free
Equations
generation
won't
didn't
intimidate us
invent
anymore.
this math.
We challenge you.
They
the
just
math. Your
stopped
reign
pretending
of confusion ends
It
now.
doesn't exist.
Now here's where
Behold
it gets
the
uncomfortable.
truth.
And
This
I
is what
mean
they don't
that.
want you to see.
Because the mainstream
Stares us in the
child-free
face,
conversation
undeniable.
focuses on
The
personal
uncomfortable
freedom,
truth demands
environmental
action.
ethics, career ambition. And those are all valid. But no one is saying the quiet part loud. Choosing not to have children in this economy might be, functionally, the most rational decision a person can make. Not morally superior, not a political statement, just rational. Consider what the data actually shows. Women who become mothers earn 40% less over the following decade than their childless peers. Not because they became less intelligent, not because they stopped working hard, but because the penalty for reproduction, in wages, in opportunity, in career trajectory, is structurally baked in to how this economy operates. MIT calculates that to support a spouse and one child, you need $75,500 a year just for basic necessities. The median personal income? $48,000. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. The GI Bill is gone. Employer pensions, gone. Union wages, gone. Affordable housing, gone. Accessible childcare, gone. What replaced them? Student loan debt averaging $40,000 for millennials. Rent averaging $1,700 a month. Childcare that costs more than rent in all 50 states. And 52% of adults under 30 still living with their parents. This isn't a generation that chose comfort over sacrifice. This is a generation that did the math and couldn't make it balance. But
My fellow
here's where I
citizens,
need to stop
I stand before you with a promise of
and
honesty.
be honest with you.
In these trying times, truth must
Because
guide our
this
path.
isn't a
I give
one-sided
you my word,
argument,
and my word
you
is
deserve
my
better
bond.
than that.
The people raising alarm about declining birth rates aren't entirely wrong. Fewer children today means fewer workers tomorrow, fewer people paying into Social Security, into Medicare, into pension systems that millions of aging Americans are depending on right now. And here's the genuinely terrifying version of this story, the one nobody wants to talk about. A child-free generation may inherit a world they can't sustain. Japan is the preview. South Korea is the warning. Fertility rates below 1.0. Entire government ministries dedicated to reversing a trend that cannot be reversed by incentives alone. South Korea tried. Cash bonuses, tax breaks, free housing for families, parental leave, billions. Fertility rate? Still the lowest on Earth.
I'll break you down.
Because the issue was never motivation. The issue was never selfishness. The issue is structural. And structural problems don't respond to cash incentives. They respond to structural change. So
Citizens,
let me say the thing that will make people angry.
Your anger blinds
On
you to
both
the
sides.
facts.
The child-free
I
movement
speak
is not
truth.
the problem.
You choose outrage.
But it's also not the solution. Because opting out of a broken system, while individually rational, does nothing to fix the system itself. And framing
Behold,
"I won't have
the dawn
children"
of new
as an act of
branding.
resistance,
This
as
flag waves for
enlightenment,
innovation and style.
that's not rebellion.
Surrender
That's
to the new
surrender.
era.
With better branding.
This is our legacy.
The people who built the economic
A dynasty
conditions we're
built
living
to
in right now,
last.
they had children, lots of them. Their wealth is generational. Their power is inherited. Their systems are self-replicating. The question isn't whether you choose to have children. The question
I'm
is,
voting for my favorite.
who is going to raise
And
the
I'm making
children
policy.
that will inherit
But
the
what if I
power
don't like it?
structures
You'll
currently
like
crushing
it.
you?
It's the best. Okay, but next time I choose.
Because someone is having children, and those children will vote. They will run companies, they will set policy. They will define the cultural and economic norms of the next 50 years. Opting out of that future doesn't mean you escape it. It means you have no hand in shaping it. The birth rate
TikTok
didn't
and
start
feminism?
falling
Cross
because of
them out.
TikTok,
The real issue is
or
our crumbling
feminism,
economy.
or
We must
political
act before
ideology.
it all turns to dust.
It started falling the moment children stopped being economic assets, and the system never restructured itself to account for that shift. Every generation since the Industrial Revolution has been handed the same broken math and told to figure it out. And every generation has responded the same way. They had fewer children. We are not unique in our struggle. We are just the furthest point on a 200-year curve. The real question, the one that actually matters, isn't why aren't young people having children? It's what would a world look like where that question
Let's build this
didn't
up
feel
strong.
so impossible
Almost there, just
to
one more.
answer?
No, it's all
Because
falling
until
apart.
we're willing
This
to build
noise
that
ruins
world,
everything.
every
I
conversation about
examine the
birth
fragile
rates,
seedling of our
population collapse, and
Hear the crowd's
generational
cries of
selfishness is just
Can
noise.
this fragile hope yet endure?